Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're out here with Arwen today, who is only outside the barn for a few minutes because it's been raining and she doesn't like the rain. So she's going to come hang out here, which is why we're filming right now. And today I want to talk about another illness in goats that your goat may end up with. Hi, sweetheart. Kisses. Mwah, goat kisses. So I wanted to talk about another disease. Today I wanted to talk about Caseous Lymphadenitis. I always say it wrong. Lymphadenitis. There we go. But this one is abbreviated CLA. So when you see people or hear people, I guess you don't see people talk, but when you hear people talk about CLA, this is the disease we're talking about. This is a bacteria. Hi, I don't have any treats. I do not. I left them in the house. I will get some after. But this is a bacteria that is found worldwide. It is quite prevalent in North America. It's also prevalent in the UK, and it affects both sheep and goats. Okay? They can get it through ingestion, but it's more likely that they get it through contact with either a mucous membrane, like in their mouth, or through a cut or an abrasion. The bacteria gets in their body that way. So yes, it's possible that they get it through eating something with the bacteria on it, but it's more likely that it's absorption through a cut, abrasion, or mucous membrane. It usually manifests as swelling in the lymph nodes. So down in the jaw, okay, down in the jaw, primarily for goats. It'll be down in the jaw, okay, where that lymph node is. But there's actually an internal and an external version. So this is a bacteria that can affect both sheep and goats. So in sheep, it is more common for the internal version to happen. So they get cysts and lumps on the lymph nodes inside the body. For goats, it is more likely to be external. That is not the rule, though. Your goat can have it internally instead of externally. That's just a generalization. So common signs of an internal version of CLA is they lose a lot of weight and a failure to thrive. Okay, if these are things that are happening with your goat, it's possible it's CLA. It's not guaranteed, but it's possible. In the external version, like I said, swelling under the jaw, but it also might be swelling right in front of the shoulder, those lymph nodes, or right where that udder connects to the body, those lymph nodes. However, it can be any lymph node. Those are just the most common ones. Okay, that's just most common. It can be any, literally any one that you've got. Any lymph node in their body, that's where it can be. So their immune system, when they encounter this bacteria, it's not a virus, it's a bacteria, but when they encounter this bacteria, the body does try to isolate the infection by surrounding it with a bunch of cysts. If this doesn't work, then the goat does tend to die. Okay? There is no treatment for this. There's nothing you can do once it gets into your herd. Okay? It is contagious, and infected goats should be quarantined. Okay? The bacteria itself, once it's on the ground, so if you have a goat that had it, can survive for about 55 days under ideal conditions. And for this bacteria, ideal conditions are actually cooler conditions like the fall or the spring. It doesn't do great in the heat, but it can still survive it. It does not survive intense winters. Okay, so one of the options if you've had it is just to overwinter and wait out the death of these particular bacteria. If you've had it, just wait it out once all your goats pass. Unfortunately, that does tend to be the outcome. It is most common to end up with this in your herd by buying an infected goat. Okay? There are other ways, of course, that can come in on your clothes or on equipment, but overwhelmingly, people get it by purchasing a goat they didn't know had it. So generally, that's how you're going to end up with it in your flock, is you're going to buy an animal that has it. So it's unfortunate, but it happens to some of us, right? The best way to diagnose it, especially if it's external, so if you have a lymph node that is swollen and maybe even eventually breaks open as an abscess, your vet can take a culture and then take that back to the lab and let that culture grow and see if that's what you're dealing with. That's the best way. There is an antibody test. That test is not perfect. And even if it does pop positive, that doesn't necessarily mean your goat's going to die. Okay, it just means they've been exposed. It doesn't necessarily mean they're infected yet. So I don't really like the antibody test. It is better, especially with goats, because it's primarily external, to get that swab. Okay, if you can swab the abscess, that would be for the best. You can also do a post-mortem if one of your goats passed away. Unfortunately, one of the best things you can do is absolutely get your vet to do a necropsy on that animal, a post-mortem, just to double check how that animal is doing, how the animal died, right? Because obviously it's not doing very well because it's dead, unfortunately. And you are stuck in the pond. Get out. Get out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there. Get out, get out, get out. You gotta go faster. Get out. Come on. Sorry, we have a duck. There we go. Got him out. Duck, 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 duck. I know. Duck, 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 duck. There. Doesn't matter. They're fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's just a chunky boy. He's fine. Well, don't go in there and get stuck then. It's not my fault. Okay. Anyway, CLA. What do you do about it if it's in your herd? So let's say you've confirmed. Let's say your vet tells you, yeah, this one died from it. Or you swab the abscess and your vet comes back with, yep, CLA. What do you do? There's not a lot you can do. There are a couple of options. So there is a vaccine. This is obviously a better option if you don't have it in your herd yet. The vaccine may not be available where you live, and in some areas it's only available for commercial producers, which I'm not. Obviously, we don't have a ton of goats. But it may or may not be available in your area. It's also not completely effective, but it's better than nothing. Okay, it's absolutely 100% better than nothing. So you can do that before you end up with it in your herd. It's obviously not effective on goats that already have it. So you now have two options if you have it in your herd. Two options, okay. So option one is to eradicate your herd. This means culling. Yes, I do mean hard culling, not rehoming them to someone else and spreading the problem. I don't love this option because it's actually not fun to do that, especially if you're a hobby farmer and you love your baby goats. That would break my heart to have to do that with Arwen. But it is an option. A hard cull, and then you test all new incoming animals. You wait at least a couple of months for that bacteria to pass away in the soil. And then you carry on and get new animals and move on. It's horrible. So if we can avoid having CLA, that's for the best. You can also just keep a closed flock. You can say, okay, nobody in or out, which means you don't let anybody come in. So you don't buy new animals, sheep or goats, because it can transmit between the two. So what you do is you do not have anyone come in or out. You don't sell, you don't buy. And you just keep a closed flock until everyone has passed away. Then you wait a couple of months, dispose of the bodies however you normally do. Wait a couple of months, make sure that bacteria can't be spread to anybody else. And then you can start again. Unfortunately, CLA, the ultimate end result is typically death. And there is no cure. There's no way to treat it. And it is more likely that an older goat or a goat that's been through multiple homes, stop fighting. Chicken's fighting. But this is one of the reasons I don't necessarily recommend older goats. Like, the older a goat is, the more homes it's been through, and goats that have been in rescues are more likely to come in contact with CLA. So an older goat, simply because they've been around longer, they've had the chance to get into more things and to be exposed to more things. Obviously, a goat that's been through multiple homes, it increases the chance that one of those homes had the CLA bacteria present. And goats that have been in rescues, obviously, even if they were only through one rescue, a lot of goats go through rescues. So again, higher chance that those goats have had contact with the CLA bacteria. So if you really need to avoid CLA, especially if you've had previous experiences with it and it was devastating for your herd, then I would recommend avoiding older animals, avoiding animals that have been through multiple homes, and animals that have been through rescues. It's just if you've been through it and it has been devastating for you, then, you know, what are you going to do? Anyway, that is about it for us today at Andersen Acres. I hope you never have to deal with CLA. It is quite devastating. We will see you tomorrow.